All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and today we are beginning to look at, or not beginning to look, we are looking at a final prediction for the Virginia governor's race as well as the New Jersey governor's race, because I think that's probably a good idea considering both elections are next week, and, well, it's going to be interesting because polls in both are showing a tightening race. And I actually looked and I excluded any partisan pollsters, and New Jersey's are actually really interesting. We'll get to that when we talk about New Jersey. But Virginia, the past week, pretty much every decent nonpartisan pollster has either shown a 1 or a 2 point race or a dead tie, including Emerson, which Emerson polls are pretty good. Not just pretty good, they're some of the best. Anyway, if we look, I've tried to do my best figuring of what a dead even election might be, or even what a Youngkin win might look like. Obviously, he needs to take care of business, win Virginia Beach, get good turnout in Appalachia, in the Shenandoah, good turnout in Southside Virginia, and not hemorrhage votes. Actually winning Loudoun would go a long way. He wins Loudoun, that's pretty much over. And right now, Loudoun might be, as well as Chesterfield down here, Loudoun actually might flip. And part of it has to do with all the nonsense going on with the parents in that area being furious about their school district and their school board, and they're not happy about it. they're not happy. They are not happy. So, yeah, I suspect that Loudoun could actually flip. At the very least, Loudoun, probably Prince William, they're not going to be as uncompetitive as they've been becoming. And I think a lot of that has to do with the nonsense that's going on in the school system, especially considering that region has a lot of parents that typically vote Democratic, but they want a say in what their kids are learning, and they want their kids to be learning the hard sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, that sort of thing. Whereas McAuliffe and the Dems want to be teaching that there's systematic racism and that if you're white, you are automatically an oppressor, nonsense like that. And McAuliffe has explicitly said that parents have no business teaching, or parents have no business telling schools what their students should, what their kids should be learning in school. You know, or parents have no business telling schools what to teach. And, of course, McAuliffe has tried to backpedal and say, no, you took that out of context. You took that out of context. No, it really wasn't taken out of context. Like, if you watch the debate, it was just McAuliffe taking a gun and shooting himself in the foot. Actually, that probably would have been a much more effective tool of getting people to support his campaign, is if he literally shot himself in the foot. But, yeah. And if you don't think parents should have a say in what their kids learn, that's not a good look. At the very least, don't say it out loud when you're running for office. Because, guess what? There's a lot of parents in this country, and you better believe they want a say in their kids' education. Because if you actually don't think they should have a say in what their kids learn, you're basically saying if they then decide, well, if they're going to dictate from on high what my kid learns in public school, I'm going to take them out. I'm going to sacrifice our own family well-being so that my kids can go to private schools. You know, and then they have the choice of going to a church school, just a regular old private school, charter schools, etc. And if you really don't believe that parents have a right to, you know, say what their kids should be learning, then you have to remove that choice as well and get rid of private schooling altogether. And nobody wants that. Because guess what? Do you think government officials want their kids going to public schools? Why do you think whenever the president does have children that are of school age, why do you think they almost always go to private schools? What about parents who want their kids going to a school that instills religious values? You know, what if you're a parent and you thought that, say, the Catholic school system did very well with you and taught you the skills you needed to do well in life, and you decide that's what you want for your kids, and now the government's taking that choice away? Are you really going to support the person who wants you to have no say in your kid's upbringing? Now, I'm not going to talk about the other big things that are going on in Loudoun County, specifically with with their Commonwealth attorney trying to prosecute a dad who was upset that his daughter experienced something that no person ever should. And that's about as explicit as I'm going to get on this channel. But if you look up the story, you'll know that that's become a political bomb, especially considering that McAuliffe is very supportive of the Commonwealth attorney in Loudoun County and has not distanced himself in any way, shape, or form from this Commonwealth attorney, who is a terrible human being. And of course the school board also covering up that incident. That was a good one. Yeah, so that may indicate that this is not your typical election in Virginia. McAuliffe is trying to nationalize the race, where Youngkin is trying to keep it local. And right now, I think Youngkin is winning that argument to keep the race based, the election based off of local issues. And I think the reason he's doing it is because the media is admittedly, I think, helping him out by putting a spotlight on all of these local issues. Especially in Loudoun and Fairfax and Prince William County. Those are very useful. In other areas, McAuliffe, like I said, he has a tendency to put his foot in his mouth. I don't think, actually understands numbers, considering he said that one county, this one out here, Buchanan County. Yes, I know it's spelled Buchanan. They say it Buchanan. Don't question it. In that county, there was a debate held there, and McAuliffe said that county would, under Youngkin's education plan, would lose more teachers than existed in the county. And McAuliffe is known for just doubling down on weird figures that are just flat out wrong. But considering that Youngkin has released his education plan, which is to increase teacher pay, increase education budget, and all that other stuff, I think that there's no way that you're going to lose teachers in the Commonwealth. If anything, you're going to gain them. So, my prediction, I've had this as a tilt Democratic election simply because McAuliffe is a Democrat and Youngkin is not, and the Commonwealth has trended very much to the Democratic side. But I think the Democrats maybe have found themselves in a perfect storm where they could lose an election. And McAuliffe is the only Democrat, or the only person who's broken that a weird coincidence in Virginia elections that the party outside of the White House wins them. That said, this is a different Virginia than 20 years ago. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to still tilt this to McAuliffe, or McAuliffe as he's actually known. I'm going to tilt this to McAuliffe, and I don't think this is going to be an election with the margin outside of that 3% margin. It's going to be close. All the polling indicates it. The momentum indicates it. I'm driving through blue areas in my neck of the woods. There is no enthusiasm for McAuliffe. I mean, when I see deep, Youngkin support in deep blue Roanoke, when I didn't even see Trump support, outside of one or two billboards that were paid for by the campaign, when I'm seeing actual on-the-ground support for Youngkin in deep blue Roanoke, yeah, this is a little unusual, okay? Also, I wouldn't be surprised if Youngkin actually won this other county on the eastern shore. I forget which one's Accomack and which one's the other one. Anyway, on to New Jersey, and this is another weird election. And it's gone very much under the radar. And the reason why it has is because, well, it's a blue state with a not unpopular Democratic governor against a kind of Trumpy Republican. Yeah, it's gonna be Democratic win. We're not gonna bother looking at it. Polls indicate a slightly different story. Outside of a small, 2 or 3 polls, no poll has shown Phil Murphy above 50%. A few at 50, 1 or 2, at 51 or 52, but beyond that, not really. It's all been 49, 48%. And you would say, well, maybe there's just a high number of undecideds that aren't being picked up. Yeah, okay, that would be a reasonable explanation if it weren't for Sciatrielli, or however you say his name, having, at this point in the campaign, with Murphy still at his usual 49, 48, 50%, Republican is sitting at about 45% on average now. And it's interesting, to say the least. And actually, I reasonably believe both races being pretty tight. Looking at the crosstabs, it's kind of almost a continuation of some of the things we saw in 2020, just updated for 2021, and give a little bit of a local allowance for quirks of each state and quirks of each local election, Also, the quirks of it being an off-year election. I don't think this is going to be a race that the Republican wins in New Jersey. I think Murphy's still going to win it. I'd probably put the margin at around 10%, so 55-45, somewhere in that range. Maybe a touch larger, maybe a touch narrower, but I think, I'd put this in the likely Democratic category, simply because at the end of the day, it is still a blue state with a not unpopular Democratic governor and a pretty Trumpy Republican running against him. So right now, as it stands, I would have both Democrats winning, but Virginia is kind of, in my opinion, a true toss-up. And I'm only putting it as a tilt, meaning it's a true toss-up, but I'm going to put my neck on the line and actually call a race. So, yeah. I'm going to say Virginia. McAuliffe is going to win very, very narrowly. And in New Jersey, Phil Murphy's going to have a comfortable but not blowout victory. So that's where I think it stands right now. However, there are a few things that I'm going to be paying attention to on election night to see how things are going. For example, if Youngkin wins these 3 counties, or more accurately, if he wins Virginia Beach, Chesterfield, or I guess better yet, if he wins Virginia Beach, that's a requirement, by the way. He has to. He wins Virginia Beach. He comes, maybe just ekes out a victory or just barely loses in Chesterfield and is within 10 in Prince William and within 5 in Loudoun. I would say he's winning. There are a few other ways he can win in the Commonwealth, but it really comes down to Youngkin needing to win Virginia Beach and probably win Chesterfield, and he needs to be close in Loudoun and Prince William. Anything else is just icing on the cake. Anyway, I want to thank y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. As always, likes, comments, subscriptions, they help the channel grow, and I greatly, greatly appreciate them. Liking and commenting help the algorithm be happy. And subscribing, well, I'd love to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're not all that far away, and I think we can do it, especially if we have a successful live stream on election night, where I'm going to be commenting my thoughts and discussing the election as it happens. So, take it easy. Hope y'all enjoyed. See y'all next time. And have a nice day. Bye-bye.